First time ever Monfils had to do that. So surely he should have had a better idea of what the options were, given he knew he was going to be playing at 3:30 local time in the first match of the day. And it promises to be a good one. Monfils, always a good showman, up against a qualifier from Germany who's enjoying an exceptional week of tennis, currently ranked 153 in the world. So that, of course, will improve, especially if he can get the better of the Frenchman this afternoon. So Ferrer, of course, at the top of the draw as the top seed. Gasquet anchoring the draw nicely as the second seed. And, of course, these two somewhere in the middle. And a good opportunity for the big four, perhaps, to make it through to the semi-finals. That's where the safe money would be. Perhaps a Ferrer, Davydenko, Monfils and Gasquet semi-final lineup. But given the tennis that we've seen all week, have been plenty of opportunities for the lower-ranked players to perhaps gain a notable scalp or two. It's always nice when you can start at a specific time, gives you an opportunity to prepare in the best possible manner. So I always used to like to get on their first match of the day. Those that have played last match throughout the course of the week have had to wait a long, long time before making it out there on the court, but they've handled the situation well. But I think generally, Robbie, the conditions have been pretty good this week, haven't they?
They certainly have. And just one more thought on that. Davydenko was saying the difference between playing in the evening and playing in the day. It takes a while to get used to it. So if you are getting bounced around first match, sometimes last match, it does take some getting used to. But Daniel Brands has had plenty of time to get used to conditions here. Of course, he came through qualifying on the weekend, which was a good effort. And of course, he's the lowest ranked player remaining in the draw. So he's carved out a nice week for himself thus far. And of course, whenever you play against a guy like Monfils, who hasn't had a lot of tennis under his belt, hasn't been around for the last couple of months, you've got to remind yourself of that fact, Jason, and try and pick up your chances. Play mental games with yourself to convince yourself that you can beat this guy, irrespective of what the differential is in the rankings.
And he had a good win in the first round here against Jeremy Chardy, another Frenchman. Beating him in straight sets will have done his confidence the power of good. And then the draw opened up for him nicely thereafter. He finished at 117 in the world tail end of last season. His highlight was the quarterfinals in Bucharest. He did qualify at the US Open and lost there to the 13th seed from Croatia, Maran Cilic, 7-5 in the fifth. So he has mixed it with the big boys and he's done well.
Yeah, let's not forget in Vienna as well, he lost to Del Potro there in 3 tiebreaker sets without a service break. So you're exactly right.
And of course, Monfils is definitely one of the big boys, no question about that. When he used to work with Roger Rashid, he said he always used to feel if he could get through a season relatively injury-free that he had to be there or thereabouts in the top 10 in the world. And I don't see any real change in that statement, because he's such a good shot maker, isn't he? He's such a good athlete that as long as he's got it upstairs and as long as his body can do what he's telling it to do on a regular basis, and that's difficult in itself, then he's got to be there or thereabouts.
And that's minimum requirement. We know that he can be inside the top 10 in the world, minimum requirement. If everything else gels, of course, then there's the huge potential for him to go even further. But he played well yesterday, had a tough match against Philip Kohlschreiber. The first round was pretty comfortable against the Qatari wild card, but Kohlschreiber is one of those players that the top boys don't like to come up against. He's got an excellent record, played well in the majors last year, tough competitor is Kohlschreiber. He's one of those guys who never beats himself. He forces you to play better than him on the day, and that's what Monfils was able to do at the tail end of the third set.
And for those that weren't here yesterday, we were particularly impressed with how he sorted himself out mentally in that deciding set, having struggled once he got the warning in the second set.
He got a time violation early on, and he wasn't happy about it. His reply to the officials was, listen, I'm one of the fittest guys on tour. I don't really need to worry about taking too much time between points. And he really let it disturb him and kind of went AWOL in that second set before finally getting it all together in the third. So that was a nice little mental test for him early on in the season. And he mentioned as much in his post-match press conference that he's done well to come through it. He realizes now in hindsight that he did go a little overboard.
A little bit.
Yeah. And you know, that's what you always hope that you can do, learn from the situation. Fortunately, the situation didn't cost him too much.
And of course, it's never easy because he will have been jacked up, you know, back on the match court, fully fit for the first time, wants to get off to a good start. So I liked that emotion. I liked what he was feeling out there and how desperately he wanted the win. So that's why I was pleased with the way that he responded in that third set. Of course, he's got a good record here in Doha. It's his fourth quarter-final appearance in 6 appearances here in Doha. So, you know, he's played well in the conditions, and that's always nice. I think it's a good way for him to start the year. Be the umpire. We had a little chat with him the other day about the enforcement of the new rules. He was all for it, and I think generally speaking, Robbie, the vast majority of people are, and I think the ATP have done a good job in making sure that they are going to enforce it, and the officials have done a good job this week.
Yeah, that's well said. I guess the only other thing now is just to have a discussion with the ITF and see if you can bring it in line, because it's crazy that we have a different rule for the majors, which is only 20 seconds. Have for ATP events, you have 25 seconds. So, reading on the internet, a lot of tennis fans were suggesting that's something that needs to be
Monfils won the toss,
tended
to receive.
Of course, 2 of us up here in the commentary box. Barry Cowan courtside. Afternoon, Barry. What are the conditions like down there?
Good afternoon, Jason. Good afternoon, Robbie. Perfect. Absolutely brilliant conditions. A far cry from the opening day on Monday when it was blustery. Of course, the wind was blowing from Monfils' end to Daniel Brand's, but it's very still. It should be great tennis.
And it's always a little disconcerting when you look at the flagpoles at the very top of the stadium, because you do get a little bit of a breeze blowing over the stadium, but that's why it's nice to have somebody courtside, because it's not as windy down there, and certainly today it's nowhere near as breezy as that. So don't be too put off by what you see if ever you see a shot of the flags at the top of the stadium. Certainly the players not having to deal with any breeze whatsoever, certainly nowhere near as strong as what that appeared to be.
Although, as I said, it has picked up a little bit literally as soon as I said it, guys. But it's still really good conditions.
Next one. You're missing one. You're looking. Otherwise, if you don't find, get the new. Oh, this one. This one. If not, okay. Thank you.
Leone just making sure they've got appropriate number of balls, and they're all new. Sometimes when you've got this many sponsor hoardings around the court, 1 or 2 balls can get lost behind it.
Ready?
Suddenly you can pick another one up from an old match. Lovell.
Let for service.
It's a nice start. It's going to be important for Brands to get a fair few cheap points if he can when stepping up to the line today. Make good use of that height advantage that he's got. Also, Robbie, something else that fans has got to try and take advantage of is the fact that Monfils was taking 3 sets yesterday. We know he's a very fit individual, but when you haven't played a lot of matches, that does take its toll on the body, doesn't it? Because, you know, there's a lot of nervous energy, and you do wake up a little stiff the next day. First match up today. If you can get up to a good start, make the most of that.
Definitely.
Have you seen Brands play much down the years?
No, I haven't. This is maybe the second time I've seen him play live. I think the other time was in the South African Open when we had that tournament back in Johannesburg a couple of years ago. So pretty obvious to see that a pivotal part of his game is going to be that big first serve. It's a big big boy. He's a big unit, is Daniel. I would say every bit of 6'5", 6'6", maybe.
Yeah, he's got a really big serve for 208 Ks. But what was interesting in the first service game there was how the ball toss is barely inside the court, so it's very upright. I actually think he could get another 10% of power.
Well, it must be a German thing, Barry, because you were making similar sort of comments yesterday about Tobias Kampke's ball toss, and maybe they got the same coach. I don't know.
Again, Monfils. 15 love.
Well, speaking of service motions, Monfils modelled his on Andy Roddick, didn't he? As a junior, and you can see the similarities. You can't quite generate the same pace, but the motion, feet, very similar.
$15 all.
Well, new record as well this year for Monfils. He's got a new kit sponsor.
Very much the fresh start, 2013, isn't it? I don't think that he's working with a full-time coach at the moment.
15, 30.
So that could all change, of course, and keeping an eye open and possibilities.
Put your CV in yet?
I was just going to say, if I can get his email address, I might just send off a quick...
15, 40.
Get a reference from Roger Rashid. Of course, we both know Roger well.
He's now working with Joe Wilfred Songa, of course, isn't he? And he's the defending champion here, Frenchman. This particular Frenchman, under pressure. It's nicely done. It's good penetration from the back of the court. It's not just the serve that can do some serious damage. And this is a confident start in this opening set. 2-love now.
More alert than his opponent, and as you suggested, Jason and Robbie, that Monfils' possibility of coming out a little heavy in his legs because of that long match yesterday, and certainly appeared that way in that first game.
Shame we don't see Joe Wilfred Songa in the draw this year, of course, having won it last, but deciding that best to start in Australia. Former finalist, of course, at the Aussie Open. And Roger getting a percentage of that appearance fee. He's getting in the Hopman Cup this week. I would have thought so. There's one or two surprises in the early results this season. Djokovic losing to Tomic in the Hopman Cup there. John Isner having to pull out yesterday. A little bit of tendinitis, I think, was the problem there for the American. He's working with a new coach this season, of course. Oh.
30, 15.
Really took off when it hit the court.
I think it's slightly downwind from that end of the court as well.
It's definitely picked up. That must be the kiss of death on the wind.
That was like a Dale Steyn bouncer.